All right, we are back breaking down another one of your Dynasty teams.
That's right, baby.
Right. If you want your team to be considered, then in the description below, you will see a link to join our Discord. In our Discord, there is a Dynasty team grades text channel. That's where you can paste your team. Make sure you do it in the right format. Now, I have to be honest, there's hundreds of submissions, so we can't guarantee to anyone that you will be on this video, but we will do our absolute best. We are looking at Enfeld's team here, okay? A little bit of context, and you should be able to see the team now. This is a 12-team Superflex, and Enfeld said, planning on drafting Breece at the 101 and hopefully get Walker at the 105 since I lack running back depth, but also considering trading up to the 102 for Malik Willis. So I will say this. We're about to break this team down. We'll go position by position. But I just want to say from the get-go, you know, I feel like this team is very limited from a trades perspective. There are moves that can be made, but it's really tricky. As I was breaking down this team, I kept like trying to think of trade ideas, but it's very, very limited with the moves that you can make because it's pretty top heavy with the talent. And there's a lot of unproven talent as well. And then the bench, there's just not a ton of value there. But let's break it down position by position. The quarterback room. What do we think about this quarterback room?
Yeah, look, it's not terrible. Justin Fields, Ryan Tannehill. Yeah, you have Baker Mayfield. Look, for me, it's not a bad room. I know there's a lot of question marks moving forward with Baker Mayfield and what's going to happen with him. I wonder with the whole Deshaun Watson thing where maybe he doesn't miss 8 games anymore. We actually don't know that yet. But I think that's a real possibility with all the new news that have coming out saying that the new 22 cases aren't going to go to trial. So I think that's a good thing to bring up because Baker Mayfield was like, you know what, at least you can lock that in for 8 games. You know, at least that was a little bit more comfortable, but that's not the case. Yeah. I'm a believer in Justin Fields, so I love Justin Fields. And Ryan Tannehill, I think you might have another year or two on him, and then you might have to make a move. But overall, at least this is a decent room. You might have to invest in some guys maybe in the second round of this rookie draft because
maybe,
you know, you need a couple pieces, I believe.
I mean, we do love some Justin Fields, so I would say hold Justin Fields again.
Absolutely.
Like there's not a quarterback here that has trade value. Like Justin Fields does, but you don't move him. You hold Justin Fields.
That's the last guy you want to move.
Tannehill and Baker, they just don't really have value, and I'm really worried about Ryan Tannehill. You know, you're talking about how we're worried about Baker, but I'm just as worried about Tannehill. I know he's the starter right now, but after last year's playoff performance, I feel like he's fighting for his life this year. Like, if he struggles, I mean, why not make a change? Because he's an efficient quarterback, but at the end of the day, ownership has to look and say, look at this AFC. Look at the quarterbacks here. Is there a way that Ryan Tannehill can actually take us deep into the playoffs? So, and it was very much his fault in that game versus the Bengals.
It was.
They didn't have to score a lot of points, and he made some very crucial mistakes. So I'm not super confident in Tannehill being my quarterback too. Baker Mayfield clearly doesn't have a starting role. Probably best to hold him for now because you're not going to really get any value in return. So let's talk about some ideas I had. I know you discussed moving up for Malik.
Yeah.
But I really think it depends on the price. This isn't a draft that I really want to trade up for. So if you are going to move up from the 105 to get Malik, and maybe you can't do this trade. Maybe it's not worth it for the person who has the 102. It's probably not. But if you can package the 105, the 206, and the 212 to get to the 102, that's 3 spots ahead. Pull the trigger. Otherwise, you don't need to, okay? Malik and the rest of these quarterbacks in this class, while we prefer Malik, I think you still have pick at 1. I can't remember. But while we would agree Malik is the like number 1 overall upside,
right?
I don't think either of us are really willing to move up to take a shot on him.
Yeah.
Like you have the 110, the 201. So I just feel like this team isn't in a position where there's enough depth at every position to get rid of draft capital.
Yeah. Maybe what you can do is, because as we're doing this, I'm thinking, what if you just try to hold on to these guys, maybe sell the 110, and you try to package the 110, the 201, try and get 2023 first. It's a better quarterback class. A guy that guys that we both believe in, and that could be some good futuristic guys in the league. Maybe think later on. I don't know if that would be worth it. I don't know if anyone in your league is willing to give up a 2023 first.
Probably not. That's the issue.
Yeah, that's the problem. But I think that's something that maybe you can do. See, because you have a 2023 first now. Obviously, I think everyone does. If you didn't trade it away, if you can get 2 of those and maybe lock in a top half pick and maybe a bottom half or mid half pick in the 2023 class, I think that's okay.
Because it's worth exploring. I'm just hesitant because there's not a lot of depth here. You know what I mean? So like doing deals where you're moving 2 for 1, it's hard for me. But what I was gonna say there is that I think with the 110, that's where you aim at a quarterback. I'm not trading up to the 102, but at the 110 in most of these drafts, you're probably gonna see a Pickett, Howell, Corral, or Ritter there. And I've said this multiple times. I think all of them have just as much of a chance as each other to be successful in the NFL. So in my eyes, hey, it's not an amazing quarterback class, but I think you don't have to move up. You can go best player available at all of these picks.
Yeah.
If you get a 23 pick, of course, that would be great. But, I just don't think that you necessarily, I don't think that anyone would do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
If I have a 23 pick right now, 2023 pick, I'm not taking the 110 in a 201. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
what you don't want to do is draft for need. So you don't want to be at the 105 and then just draft one of these quarterbacks because it's probably not going to be the best player available. Let's look at the running back position. Easily the weakest spot on your team.
Yeah, it's tough. It's a tough one.
Yeah. I mean, we like J.K. Dobbins. I definitely think he's going to have a good year. I believe in the comeback, but
and there's no one else.
Herbert's not a starter.
Yeah, this.
To be honest, I don't understand how Geis and Armstead are rostered in this is a 10 bench league. So these guys, and it's not disrespectful, I'm just curious how the roster got here. Are there really not better people on the waiver wire? Because this isn't a 15 bench league. It's not a 20 bench league. Looks like your taxis aren't that big. So to me, I don't view those guys as players that I'm really wanting to stash.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
But there's not a starter on this team outside of JK.
No, one thing, look, the thought process is you have the 101. So you're going to have Dobbins and Brees, which is great. Okay. If you do go with Kenneth Walker at the 105, then your running back room is solidified already.
Yeah.
And then you can move forward. But if Kenneth Walker doesn't fall to you, maybe you can, it's not over yet because you still have the 201. You still have the 206. If one of these guys, a Jerome Ford, a Brian Robinson, who we just did a mock draft with landing spots, a rookie mock draft, and he landed to the Falcons. I mean, you can get somebody like that in the second. It just really depends on who falls to you in the second. I think if Walker's not at the 105, maybe you need to prioritize a running back at the 201, at the 206, depending on where they go, because that will be very important. You need that depth, at least for this year, if you're trying to compete. But I don't think you're going to be competing this year.
No, you're not.
But
let's be honest.
You do have great pieces to win a couple sneaky games, especially if you get Brees. I mean, really, plug in Brees here. He can win some games.
He can win games.
He can win like 6-7 games.
The wide receiver room is great. Yeah, definitely go Brees Hall at the 101. If you see me looking down, I'm just looking at the team here. Definitely go Brees Hall at the 101. You know your league best. Don't trade up to get Kenneth Walker, but if he's there at the 105, great. I think regardless, it's important to keep saying still go best player available at the 105 if Walker is not there. The worst thing that you could do is draft a Spiller, a Rashad White here, one of those guys who we don't view as first-round guys. If you get one of the top wide receivers, they will have much more value this time next year than what those running backs we project their value to be. So That's why we don't draft for needs in this draft. So I agree the 206 to 212 could be an ideal shot to take a chance on one of those running backs later on in the draft. But I think with Brees, your running back room is going to look a little bit better. You just got to try and get some depth in there.
Yeah.
Wide receiver wise, this is a very good wide receiver room. Probably a big strength of yours, which is great
Absolutely.
considering that you can start up to 5 wide receivers in your league format. You got the
Mhm.
3 wide receiver spots and the 2 flexes. This is definitely a strength. I mean, look, JJ, CeeDee Lamb, Hollywood, Ayuk, this is pretty much your core. I mean, you could say JJ and CeeDee are the core. Those are the guys that you just don't move. You don't
Correct.
move JJ and CeeDee unless you
Mhm.
get an absolute king's ransom and it makes it sets your team up for, the next couple years. So for me, I don't think you really need to do much in this wide receiver room.
No.
Obviously, Curtis Samuel is not an ideal starter. So we'll talk about that in a second. But if Washington don't go wide receiver in the first round, I think there's still value for Curtis and he's worth holding.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think you hold everyone here. Once again, this whole is going to be based on your draft picks. This is if you don't move that 110, you can get somebody good in the wide receiver room. Why
Even the
not?
105, if Kenneth Walker isn't there, I
Exactly.
mean, take
Exactly.
best player available. If it's Garrett Wilson, if it's Jamison Williams, Drake London, and Olave, Burks or Pickens,
I
like
think no
take
matter
your pick.
what, you are going to. It feels like you're going to get a running back in Brees, and you are potentially going to get a wide receiver at the
Yeah.
105 or the 110. So you get
Yeah.
depth in both positions, the RB room and the wide receiver room. So I think you're truly set there. Not depth in the
Yeah.
running back room, but at least you get a starting running back. Hopefully he lands in a good spot, not the Steelers, because we've
I
been
don't know
doing
why that
mock
keeps
drafts,
happening in our mocks.
and he keeps landing to the Steelers. But I doubt that will happen for you. So you're
If you
chilling.
have the one, if for the 110 and the 201, I really feel like that should be wide receiver quarterbacks. That's where you should go. Wide receiver quarterbacks as well as a 105 for a wide receiver. It's a good tier of player there, but the more I think about it, to be honest, I don't feel like you should really, with the assets that you have, you're limited. So I don't think you should make a move up in this class. You're
I think
very
all
limited.
these. By
And
the
I
way,
think I would keep my picks and take shots on these rookies. I don't think there's not enough depth here for me to be like, yeah, let's package and put all of our eggs in one basket. There's not enough there for me to do it on this team.
yeah, I know Zach said it earlier with the bench. You got to find some better players. I mean, I just want to say that again. Like, this is massive. Get rid of guys. Get rid of Armstead. I mean, I might be. It just really depends. Pick up somebody that's a second string, like a Tevin Coleman. I'm pretty sure he out there. A Ty Johnson maybe. Somebody.
Yeah,
Because
it's just hard to see those guys being relevant.
yeah, and I know
in fantasy.
even the guys that I just named is hard to see relevant. But to be honest, I won a game last year with Ty Johnson. He got me 10 points.
Right.
Get
Something, yeah.
Get something. You got to get some more.
Or
some better
even,
people.
if there's a Chris Evans out there, think of like players who are maybe third strings on their team, but they're young and they have a chance to get a better role in the future. Chris Evans comes to mind. Keyshawn Vaughn comes to mind. Maybe these are some moves that you can make for like your 406 or something. You can try and find like a deep bench value.
Yeah.
With the tight ends, I mean, there's reason for optimism in this group. You had a trade for Cole Kmet take pretty recently. So, Cole Kmet, is he an ideal starter? Not at this point, but he could develop into that, right?
Yeah, that's the thought process. And you have the connection with Justin Fields and Cole Kmet on the field for 84% of the snap plays for the Bears. The expectation is that he will, at least you hope, be the safety blanket over there for Justin Fields in the middle of the field outside of Darnell Mooney. So I think there's some good upside there with Cole Kmet, in my opinion.
Yeah, so Trey McBride's a name to keep your eye out for with your 206 and your 212. Trey McBride is a tight end that we both feel confident in taking pretty much anywhere from the 206 and above. I think there's a tier drop there where the tight end makes a lot of sense. So Trey McBride, if he lands in a good spot, we keep seeing him getting mocked to Green Bay.
Yep.
If he lands in a good spot, 206, 212 could be really good spots to have a look on him. Adam Troutman's there. You just hold Troutman. We don't know if he's ever going to reach his potential.
No, I mean, if he finally plays a whole season with Jameis on the field, we've seen Jameis make some tight ends fantasy relevant. We've seen that multiple times when he was with Tampa Bay. So if he can stay on the field, and right now we don't even know who's going to be on that team. If they drafted a Jamo or whatever, I think he can get some value second year for this guy.
They need to draft someone else because like they're at the point where they need another weapon to help spread the field for everyone. So
Exactly.
all right, team grade. I gave you a B- here. Outside of the wide receiver core, there are just a lot of question marks for me. Like I said, there's promise in the tight end room. It's not secure. There's promise in the quarterback room, but there's also a lot of question marks. Running back room, it is really, really weak outside of JK.
Yeah.
So for me, B-. Let's hope we hit on these draft picks. And, if we don't, we could be in a little bit of a tough spot, and we might need to reassess next year.
Yeah, I gave you a B flat. I think when we really look at this team, the only part that I'm like cringing about is really the RB2. So, but it's locked that you're getting Brees. Other than that, yeah, you probably do need better quarterback. You probably need a longer life quarterback in the league right now. Because Tannehill, Zach's right, is in question. But I love your wide receiver rooms, and I think you can get some depth in this 2022 draft class.
Yeah.
So just stay tuned, because I think everything can change. Even if he gets, like, once again, Brees, and he doesn't get Kenneth Walker, he's going to get a Ford, a Brian Robinson, somebody that's going to land on the team with the opportunity. Isaiah Spiller, maybe if he falls to the second, even though we don't like Isaiah Spiller, but maybe that's something that you have to look into. And then another thing, you're going to get some more wide receiver depth. Like I think that's a lock as well. So I think it's a good team. It's a really good team, and I think you have you're sneaky. That's what I believe. I truly believe you're sneaky. But the depth, the bench, is cringe. That's all.
Yeah, the bench isn't very good. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, Kellen Mond, if you have to make a decision on him this year with your taxi, just don't keep him. I mean, if you can keep him in your taxi, keep him there. But some people have a 1-year limit. And the last thing I'll say is I would definitely explore a Ryan Tannehill plus a 110 to up tier at quarterback. I would explore that potential. If I can maybe get a Derek Carr, that might sound low, but I just feel better about him. Maybe if I could, so just find out what quarterbacks you could do that with. Trevor Lawrence, people are a little bit unknown. I would prefer the upside of him at this point. So just shop around, see what you can get. Maybe you can get a Tua for Ryan Tannehill at the 110, which I know a lot of people are viewing this as a 1-year deal, but we do believe in Tua from what we have seen.
Mm-hmm.
So have a look, have some shop. I hope some of those ideas really help. And if you guys are watching, comment down below. Let us know what your thoughts are. Would you do anything differently? Let us know.
Yo, what's good? Thanks
up?
for watching. We got a lot more videos.
A lot more.
If you want more videos.
Watch
now,
it.
You can also subscribe.
Right now.
If you want to.
You need to.
And lastly, don't forget that you can sign up to support the show and get exclusive content by going to patreon.com/fantasylandfam.